Hi students, here we are moving on to the next section of module 4, that is electromagnetic theory. Now we have to discuss about some of the fundamentals of vector calculus. Under this there comes the concept of gradient and its physical significance, then divergence and its physical significance, then comes curl and its physical significance. I hope that you all have already studied these topics, but now we will discuss it in detail about its physical significance. Okay, what is meant by gradient of a scalar function? Gradient is actually, it is a vector operator. That is the first point. Gradient means it is a vector operator which operates on a scalar function to produce a vector quantity whose magnitude will give you the maximum rate of change of that function at that point, and its direction will be indicating the maximum direction of change of that quantity. That means suppose phi is our scalar function. If you want to find out the direction and magnitude of maximum rate of change of this physical quantity, you have to take its gradient. Gradient of phi, it is represented by an operator, del operator. So this is the operator for taking gradient. Del operator is actually equal to vector I into unit vector I into dou by dou x plus unit vector j into dou by dou y plus unit vector k into dou by dou z. As such, del has no physical significance, but it acquires significance only when it acts on a vector or a scalar function. When this del acts on a scalar function, it is known as a gradient, and as a result of taking gradient, you will get a vector quantity. Okay. So when this del acting on this scalar function phi, so this was del operator, when it act on phi, you will get I into del phi will become equal to I into dou phi by dou x plus j into dou phi by dou x, dou y plus k into dou phi by dou z. So its quantity, its magnitude will give you the maximum rate of change of phi, and its direction will give you the direction in which the phi is getting changed. Okay, in which direction phi is getting increased, that is given by its direction. What is the physical significance, or what is the concept actually behind taking gradient? Gradient actually, for example, we can say, like, just consider a hill. If we are moving, here it is the x-axis and y-axis. If you are moving in this direction, it will indicate the maximum increase of this slope of the hill, isn't it? So that is gradient of this scalar function, and this point will give you the maximum rate of increase, height. It is given by this direction. So its magnitude, if you are taking gradient at this point, it will be in this direction. It will give you the maximum rate of change. Another example, consider a room, an AC room, where AC is fixed here. Consider temperature is our scalar function. Our phi is, we are taking it as temperature. The nearby regions of AC will get cooler faster than the farther regions, isn't it? So the rate of increase of temperature will be, in this direction. So for that, we can take del phi. Del phi will give you the rate of change of temperature in that room. Clear? So commonly used gradients are temperature gradient, pressure gradient, velocity gradient, and you have studied in +2 portion some gradient of a electric potential. An electric field E can be represented as minus del V, that you have studied. If there is a point charge Q, its electric field will be propagating in this direction, isn't it? So it will be opposite to the maximum increase of rate of increase of potential, because charge is here, potential will be maximum nearby this charge, and its field will be in its opposite direction. So it is given by E is equal to minus del V. So this is the concept of gradient. So gradient means del operator when acting on a scalar function, it is known as a gradient, and after taking gradient you will get a vector quantity, and that quantity will be like I into dou phi by dou x plus j into dou phi by dou y plus k into dou phi by dou z. Its magnitude will give you the maximum rate of increase of that quantity, and direction will indicate the maximum the direction of maximum increase of that quantity. Okay. Then this del can also operate on vectors. It can operate in vectors in two different ways. When del operate on, there are two ways. Del can operate on a vector in two ways. First one through a scalar product. Scalar product, or it is also known as dot product. If it is acting through a dot product, it is known as divergence of a vector quantity. And if the del operator is acting on a vector through vector product, another name for vector product is cross product, then it is known as curl of that vector quantity. Okay, so what is the concept of divergence, and what is the meaning, physical significance of divergence, that we are going to discuss next. After taking divergence, you will get a scalar quantity. So what is divergence? Its definition is divergence of a vector function gives the net outflow per unit volume at a point. If you are considering a point here, if there are some vector quantity is flowing in this direction, at that point if you are taking divergence of this particular point, it will give you the net outflow from this point. Or divergence of a vector field at a given point is a measure of outflow minus inflow per unit volume. Okay. How it is obtained? Divergence is obtained by taking, we have already stated that it will be obtained by taking scalar product of del and that vector quantity. So it will be like, if our vector function is like f and our operator is del, it will become del dot f. Already del was I into dou by dou x plus j into dou by dou y plus k into dou by dou z. So when it acts on a vector function f, you will get it as, if suppose vector function f is equal to I fx plus j fy plus k into fz, and if del is acting on it, it will become del dot f for divergence. Then you will get it as, answer will be like dou fx by dou x plus dou fy by dou y plus dou fz by dou z. It will be a scalar quantity. So it will give you the net outflow from a particular point. For example, consider a figure here. Here is a point. Some vector field is there, and its flow is given by this direction, and the magnitude is also given by the length of the vector. Suppose all these vectors are having the same length, then here there is no net outflow. Here all the quantities are, or vector field is coming into that point, isn't it? So what will be, suppose here vector field is velocity vector, then what will be del dot v? Del dot v will be a negative quantity. It will be less than 0, isn't it? Because here is no net outflow. Inflow is there. So divergence at this point will be negative. Another point, consider here, and here the vector quantities are again velocity itself. Vector quantity is having the same magnitude, and direction is indicated by the arrowhead. Here at this point there is a net outflow. Okay, here if we are taking del dot v, it will become a positive quantity. It will be greater than 0. Consider another point here, then velocity vector is coming in this direction. It is indicated in this manner, so that at this point, even though there is inflow, there is the same quantity is going outward also. So what will be the net effect here? Net effect here will be del dot v will be 0. Okay, so in the first case divergence was negative, so it indicates there is no outflow, only inflow. It is considered as a sink. In the second figure, divergence is positive. That means there is a net outflow. If there is net outflow, that point is considered as a source. In the third figure, the net outflow, that is outflow minus inflow, is 0. Whatever is coming to a point is flowing out of that point. So such a vector field is said to be solenoidal. If del dot that vector field is 0, it is said to be a solenoidal. So this is the concept of divergence. Next is curl. What is meant by curl of a vector quantity and what is its physical significance? Already we have stated that when an operator del acts on a vector through vector product or cross product, you will get its curl. So it is represented by del cross f. So what is its definition? Curl is a vector valued function. That means it will act on a vector and its result will be also a vector, which is a measure of rotation of that vector at that point. Curl operation is applicable to only vector valued functions. Then consider our del was already, you know, it was I into dou by dou x plus j into dou by dou y plus k into dou by dou z. And if our vector function f is like I into fx plus j into fy plus k into fz, then curl of f is given as del cross f, and it will be equal to I into dou by dou x plus j into dou by dou y plus k into dou by dou z cross ifx plus jfy plus kfz. It will be equivalent to determinant I j k dou by dou x, dou by dou y, dou by dou z, fx, fy, fz. So this is curl of a vector quantity. It can be taken in this manner. Then what is its physical meaning? A vector field, if you are taking del cross f and if it is equal to 0, that indicate that that field is irrotational. Irrotational means there is no rotation in that field. Suppose there is a river. And the velocity vector is indicated in this manner. Velocity at every point, velocity is the same and direction is also same. If we are putting a piece of wood in this above this water, there will not be any rotation for that piece of wood, isn't it? That means there is no rotation. So if you are taking del cross v here, you will get it as 0. That indicate that it is an irrotational field. Irrotational. Suppose at another point velocity is slightly different. Slightly different velocities are there. Magnitude is indicated by, suppose magnitude is indicated by the length of the vectors and direction is given by the arrowhead. At this region, if we are placing a piece of wood, there will be some rotation in this direction, isn't it? So that means if we are taking del cross v here, it may not be 0. That is, this field here, velocity field here, it is rotational. An example is a whirlpool as an example. Another one, rotation can be indicated by this direction also. So this is the concept of curl, and the direction of curl is given by right hand rule. Okay. A comparative study is also given in your PDF note. Please go through it. So that's all about vector calculus. I think or I hope that you have already studied these concepts in mathematics or in our +2 portions. Then comes vector integrals. I am not going in detail into vector integrals because it is about line integral, surface integral and volume integral. What is meant by a line integral? Line integral means if there is a curve like structure and if you want to integrate a function and that function is to be integrated, is evaluated along a curve, then suppose these are A and B points, and then for that we will consider small elements like dr or dl and we will take the integration, isn't it? We will divide it into small length dls and then take integrals that is indicated by line integral from a to b. If a function is like a or something like that, it will be a dot, if it is dl, a dot dl. One of the example is Work done is considered as F dot dl. Forced, the line integral of force. As an example, it will give you work done. Then what is surface integral? If it is a closed curve, if the curve was assumed to be a closed one, it will be indicated by a symbol like closed curve A dot dl. Integration is along a closed curve. Then comes surface integral. Surface integral is indicated as double integral over S A dot ds, small surfaces. And this, what is indicated by this ds? Ds is given as the small area element. It will be equal to unit vector at that point into magnitude of that small area, isn't it? So it is equivalent to ds. That is a surface integral. And then volume integral, it is indicated as triple integral over V A dot dV. One more point, if the surface is also closed, it can be indicated as a single single integral with a closed circle there. So it will indicate if it is over S over a surface, it will be closed surface A dot ds, like this. Okay, so I am not going into detail in this section. Now we have to discuss two important theorems in electromagnetism. First one is Gauss divergence theorem and second one is Stokes theorem. So first is Gauss divergence theorem. These two theorems are very important because as we are moving on to Maxwell's equation and its derivations, these these theorems are very significant. First one is Gauss divergence theorem. Actually, it is conservation of energy theorem. This theory speaks about conservation of energy. And it relates flux of a vector field through a closed surface to the divergence of the field in the volume enclosed. I think you didn't understand anything. What is meant by, first of all, what is meant by flux of a vector field? In this chapter, we are going to use this term frequently. So we have to discuss it first. What is meant by flux? Flux of a vector quantity means it is commonly used as dot product of a vector field F and the surface element ds through a surface is known as flux. If the vector quantity F is a flowing in a flowing nature, then its dot product with a surface element ds is known as flux. If it is through a closed surface, if we are taking the integral over a closed surface, it will give you the total flow, total flux through the closed surface. Okay. So this theorem, Gauss divergence theorem, relate flux of a vector quantity through a closed surface to the divergence of the same vector quantity. Divergence is indicated as del dot F over a enclosed volume. So it will be integral over V. So this is actually the theorem. These two are equal. This is the equation given by Gauss divergence theorem. According to Gauss divergence theorem, the volume integral of divergence of a vector field is equal to the surface integral of vector field over a closed surface. What is the physical meaning of this? Simply, we can explain it by an example. Suppose there is a train bogie. Consists of different compartments. In between the compartment there are doors. One can move from one compartment to other through this door. So, but how many number of people are there inside this bogie? It will not be changed. It will not be changed if someone is going into or out of this bogie through its surface, isn't it? So divergence of this vector field is, here we are taking it as not vector, number of people inside this quantity cannot be changed. The flux density inside a region cannot be changed if there is no inflow or outflow, isn't it? So if we are moving through the surface only, we can change the number of people inside it. There may be changes inside this compartment. One can go from one compartment to the other through this doors, but the total number of people inside this bogie is not going to change if someone is going out or going in through the surface doors, isn't it? That is one simple example in order to understand its meaning, or otherwise we can say it as, consider in physical sense, we can say it as consider a closed surface. Every element of surface we can take it as ds, and if there is a vector quantity f is moving in this direction, vector quantity, that is its direction is indicated by the arrowhead and magnitude is given by the length of the vector, suppose like that. So if we are considering the divergence in a small volumes, f is a vector quantity and we are considering a small volume dv. So what will be the divergence of the vector field here at this point? Here we are considering a small region inside it, around it as a square shape region. If the flux is going out at this point, if we are considering a point, flux may be going out in this direction, but if we are considering the next volume very close to it, here the flux is going in. So at the surface, at this point here the flux was going out, but for the very next volume the flux is going in, so it get cancelled. The inner region, it get cancelled. What is going inside is going outside, so the net flux will be 0 here. So what will remain if you are taking in this manner, continuously in this manner, what will remain? The remaining flux will be only through the surface. That is given by Gauss divergence theorem, and it is actually a conservation of energy. Clear? So this is the equation. Gauss divergence theorem relates surface integral to volume integral. Surface integral over a closed surface of f dot ds will be equal to volume integral of divergence of that vector field. Next is Stokes theorem. Another, it is also very important theorem, Stokes theorem. Stokes theorem, it actually relate line integral and surface integral. It relate line integral and surface integral. Line integral to a surface integral. What does the theorem says? The theorem says, according to Stokes theorem, the surface integral of curl of a vector quantity. Suppose our vector quantity is f, then curl of vector quantity will be del cross f. So as it is surface integral, we have to take it as dot ds. It will be equal to the line integral of f dot dl along a closed path around the surface. So we are taking it as closed line integral. So this is the relation. What does it mean? What is its physical intuition that we are going to consider? For that, consider an inverted pot. Inverted pot like structure with its rim. Rim is here, that is an open surface. Open curve is here. The open area is our curve C. If we are dividing, if we are going to find a flux is there, some vector field is there and it is circulating. If we are considering dividing the surface into small areas, we are going to divide the surface into small areas, and if we are considering the circulation in each area, circulation del cross f is minus circulation. As it is considering over a surface, it will have a ds, means it will be surface vector will be having a direction n cap into that small area. So for a surface area, its direction is given by the right hand rule, and the surface vector will be given by outward normal. It will be given by an outward normal, and we are taking it as by the right hand rule. Surface integration can be taken in this anti-clockwise direction. So the circulation here will be in the suppose this small area, circulation will be there in the anti-clockwise direction, isn't it? The very next volume we are considering here, surface vector is given by the outward normal, and here also the circulation will be in the anti-clockwise direction. Look here, this circulation is cancelled by this direction, isn't it? Enlarged figure, we can draw an enlarged figure. This was the first small volume. Here the circulation was in this direction, anti-clockwise. Here the circulation will be in this direction. Here these two inner circulation will get cancelled because they are in the opposite direction, so it will get cancelled. So likewise, in all these volumes, all these areas, the circulation will get cancelled, and here also, because it is a surface means it is 3 dimension. So here in this side also we can take the circulation. So over the surface, entire surface circulation will get cancelled, but only one remaining will be through the curve. It cannot get cancelled because there is no portion below this open rim, so that these vectors can get cancelled. So the only circulation will remain in this curve. So the result of taking circulation of this vector field over this entire surface, it is equivalent to a simplification. It is equivalent to the line integral along this curve. So this is the physical significance of Stokes theorem, or it is the meaning of Stokes theorem. These two equations you have to take it into mind, because we have to apply these two theorems in our Maxwell equations derivation. Gauss divergence theorem relates surface integral to volume integral. Stokes theorem relates surface integral to line integral. Okay, so these two you have to take it into mind. That's all for today. I think it's enough, and in the next class we will discuss about equation of continuity and then Maxwell's equations derivations. Okay, thank you.